I mentioned data as discussion topic number one at SOF Week. The number one priority underlying that is security. Jared Shepard is president and CEO of Hypori. I asked him if data security in the SOF space is different than data security in other parts of the military.
Fundamentally, the Department of Defense all has the same problem set, right? Which is a combination of criminal bad actors, nation-state actors, near peers, adversaries, and not so near peer adversaries. But ultimately, data is the currency in which the Department of Defense operates. In a lot of ways, whether it's information superiority of the battlefield, whether it's intelligence, whatever it happens to be. Cyber resilience becomes so important because we have to establish not just information dominance, but communications dominance on a battlefield before we ever go in there. The reason why it's unique for SOF, for the SOF community, on the white side of SOF, they have what's called, FID, Foreign Internal Defense, but the mission of SOF is much more dynamic, and there's a lot more variables than strategic military when you're going into a known space, movement to contact, that kind of thing. The unconventional side of the house, they may have to go in and develop relationships with host nation forces, assist host nation forces in preparing for activity, things like such in Ukraine or others, but all while being aware of the fact that there are near-peer nation states that are going to try to exploit, identify, target, and use information ultimately against them. SOCOM itself has to be able to put on many faces. It has to put on its warfighting face when it comes to being able to go and actively either offensively or defensively protect itself, to protect its operators on the ground, because the operators are the most important thing. And then it also needs to be able to blend in and fit in places where it doesn't want to have a signature, whereas conventional military doesn't have that same requirement as much. The ability to have to blend in, the ability to be obfuscated in its operations.
I jotted down two words as you were speaking about some of the concepts that I extracted from what you said, and I'm wondering what they might mean for cyber resilience. One word is anonymity. You talked about the need to blend in.
Yep.
And the other is diplomacy. If you're going in and building relationships, I don't think a lot of people think about the cyber implications of the diplomacy that's involved in going in and building coalitions in places that they might not be natural.
100%. And it's anonymity is interesting because it has many facets. One is how do I protect my data? But then it's also how do I protect your data? So how do I protect the information that I'm generating and wanting to share? And then also how do I protect your identity and your information? The ability from the diplomacy side of the house that's interesting is it's also about what they call MPE, which is mission partner environment. SOF is the center of developing that kind of a thing where they have to go in and develop these mission partner environments where they have other nations, whether they're participating nations or the host nations, that they have to interact with and share some level of intelligence with and share some level of operational information with, but also not expose themselves to being compromised, while empowering the host nation to be successful.
Quick final thought regarding the anonymity piece. Is it possible to protect your data, to protect the other person's data, and not leave a footprint? I imagine that's desirable. How achievable is that?
I'm the CEO of Hypori. That's what Hypori does. But yeah, so yes, there are some technologies out there that using advanced methods, can both protect the infrastructure in which they support, but they can also absolve the edge device. So today we call it zero trust, right? Which is the idea of I don't trust any edge device. I don't trust any environment. I want you to validate who you are all the time. I want you to validate the access that you have all of the time. And then that's how we tier out information from a cyber standpoint to the edge. And that's kind of the new zero trust methodology that the whole federal government, DOD, et cetera, is all moving towards.
We have about a minute left. How does one judge success in this field? Is it just you didn't get caught or breached by the bad guys? Or are there other ways that are important to measure too?
That's a good question. I mean, hard one, but a good question. So I think at the basic level, yes, don't lose your data. But more importantly is don't get identified, don't get targeted. Not only don't lose your data, but empower the sharing of information. So you can lock something down. I often say the most secure place in the world is a maximum security prison, but nobody wants to live there, right? So we have to find a middle ground in which we have the ability to actively share information, whether it's intelligence or just nation building information, the flow of water, whatever it happens to be that's important to that commander on the ground at the time, but do so in a way in which both protects the operator, the edge user, and the network.